the OTO and Whisper This Please Wicca are among the organizations that started out as sex clubs disguised as esoteric orders. There were many of them.
Can left-hand path lead you to enlightenment?
Okay, what do you mean? I'm going to do a Professor Jode on you. What do you mean by the left-hand path? That term has a lot of different meanings.
Okay. I might require some education on it. Admittedly, I don't know probably as much as I should. My understanding is the left-hand path is, as opposed to do what thou wilt, but cause no harm, it's do what thou wilt is the whole of the law, right? So it's basically, in other words, let your do whatever you want because it's all good, kind of thing. And whether that leads to hedonism or it leads to, you know, getting sucked up into your ego like Ziggy Stardust, you know, or whoever, then it's a whole, yeah, it's to be differentiated from replacing your will with God's will, which might be the right hand path idea.
I have known people who went to that kind of left-hand path whole hog, and people who went that kind of right-hand path whole hog. And in my experience, neither of those paths leads any place particularly useful. There is a middle way, which has to do with
the Buddha's middle way.
What?
Doesn't the Buddha's middle way? Oh,
no,
okay.
Just, you know, here's you have. I mean, we both have two hands. And it doesn't make a lot of good. There's not a lot of point in lopping one of them off. We are all in relationship to the divine, but you know, the divine gave us, the great architect of the universe gave us willpower, and gave us desires and needs and wants, and that's an educational process. That doesn't mean that we're going to go my ego, my untrammeled will is going to stomp the crap out of the rest of the world, and I'm going to get everything I want just because I want it. That leads to stupidity very quickly. But it's equally dumb to go, no, I'm not actually going to want anything. I'm going to let the world just run over me like a freight truck. Both of one of the lessons that I think is meant to be taught but is not often learned by the grand metaphor of the two pillars with the entrance between them, okay, is the opposite of one bad idea is usually another bad idea. Okay, so you know, the absolute wallowing in the individual will and the absolute renunciation of the individual will are both kind of dumb. It's like deciding that the only alternative to dying of thirst is drowning. Somewhere in between those two, there's a good relationship with water. In the same way, Aristotle was all over this back in the day. Aristotle used to wrote about how, you know, if you want to, you know, if courage, let's say, is the midpoint between two vices, not the opposite of one. Courage is distinct from cowardice, but it's also distinct from foolhardiness.
Sure.
Okay? And so on down the catalog of virtues. Every virtue is the midpoint between two vices. And so, again, here are your two pillars. Here are your two fierce guardians of the path. If you walk into one of the pillars, I promise you're going to bonk your nose, and you're not going to get into the temple. If you walk straight between them, well, there's this thing called a door, and you go on.
Yes, or the Vesica Pisces, depending on what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. There's the Vesica. Okay, you don't go this circle, you don't go that circle. You go to the place where they overlap, and then it opens, and the way is open for you. And so,
now we're back to sex cults. Right.
I wasn't going to go there. Sometimes a Vesica is just a Vesica.
We see where his mind went.
All good.
I think it was Carl Jung who pointed out that sometimes the penis is just a phallic symbol.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Absolutely. So with that, what do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of Western esotericism today?
Oh man. Let's see. Let's go down the list. I have have a hard time thinking of anything in Western esotericism that isn't misunderstood. If I had
Really?
to choose one thing, though, I would say, by most people, you go out there out of the narrow fringe circles of those of us who actually practice this stuff, and you're in Harry Potter land. And I think that's a good place to start. The notion that magic, let's use that dreadful word. It's not a 4-letter word; it has 5 letters, so we can use it in polite company. Okay, that magic is about waving a wand around it, babbling some words in ungrammatical fake Latin, and having some physically impossible thing happen. Okay, that's the that's the notion of magic. This sort of Harry Potterism, doing stuff that technology does, like making brooms fly or what have you. Okay, and if you, in fact, as a teacher of occultism, I constantly have when I get complete noobs, one of the main things I have to do is deal with the fact that they expect physically impossible things to happen, and it usually takes a while before they grasp that we're talking about, quote Dion Fortune here, causing changes in consciousness in accordance with will. It's not about yanking the that was her definition. Magic is the art and science of causing changes in consciousness in accordance with will. Yes, she was ripping off of Aleister Crowley's definition, which she thought was far too broad to be useful.